The following is a special presentation of the Minty Organization for the Performing Arts.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Front Row Conversations. Well, for tonight's episode, we certainly have a treat in store for you. Before Nick Garrity became a household name, it was this gentleman who won a record 3 Minty Awards and the first to ever win, and the only to ever win, in the featured supporting and leading actor category. I am pleased to welcome tonight a very dear friend and one of the nicest people that you'll ever meet. Mr. Anthony Massa joins us now.
Oh, well, thank you, Michael Pinto. It's nice to see you. How you doing?
I'm well. Thank you so much for joining us. And I've spotted them right from the get-go. Your 3 Minties right over your left shoulder, 2011, 2012, and 2013. We'll get to all of that.
I keep them close to my heart. I do. Whenever I sleep, I have to have them right next to me.
10 years ago, just about. So let's go back now. A very proud alum of St. Peter's Boys High School. And you actually started high school. You were a sophomore when the first Minties came out. So tell us your first experience in theater at Peters. And I know you're also heavily involved in all the other schools at the All Girls for their shows. So take us back to high school Massa.
Yeah. So as you said, I started with the Minty Awards in 2011. So then I was only there for my sophomore year. So when I was a freshman, I was part of Back to the 80s was our first musical, and I played Corey Jr., I believe was the name of the character. And it was such a blast because it was all 80s music packed into this show under the direction of Miss Coppola. And it was a great time. And that was my first introduction to theater at St. Peter's. And then after that was the beginning of the Minty Awards. So.
Now, what got you? Came from St. Teresa's, correct?
I did, yes.
And that they always had a lot of thriving theater community there. Did you do the shows there? What got you involved in theater?
Of course, yeah. So that was with the Parish Players, and actually Janine Bruin as well was part of that back in the day. And we performed with a director named Liz Muller, and she was a huge inspiration to me. I started when I was 10 years old, and for my first audition, I remember singing Happy Birthday because it was the only song that I knew. And I went in there and we did shows from, oh my goodness, what did we do? We did High School Musical, we did Briar Rose, The Tale of Sleeping Beauty. We did Guys and Dolls. We did Footloose and all of those shows. So I was constantly involved with theater back then at a young age.
And you mentioned High School Musical, and now that's the first time that I actually saw you on stage. Was the beginning of your sophomore year in the very first Minty show, High School
That's right.
Musical at St. Joseph Hill. How did you get involved with the Hill Drama Club? What made you audition?
That was a very funny story, actually. I had initially not planned to be part of that production, but Ryan Evans had dropped out of the show. And I got a call from Gary Carr, and he said, listen, Massa, you have to do this. Like, they need, and I had played Ryan before. So they kind of dragged me in there, and I went to audition, and they gave me the spot. They gave me the role on the spot. And it was a lot of fun.
And so that was the first year of the Minty. So you had that show in the fall, and then come spring at St. Peter's, they did a great production of Fiddler on the Roof.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to talk about that show?
Sure. Yeah, I played Perchik opposite Nicole Hermanson, and we did that for my sophomore year. And it was just, I love the shows that St. Peter's had chosen, because we went from Back to the 80s and then to Fiddler on the Roof, and then from there just got more and more depressing as time went on. Les Mis, then Phantom, Jekyll and Hyde, Sweeney Todd. I think after that it was like Shrek the Musical. So huge jump. But yeah, that was my first show with the Minties.
And then you were nominated for that role And actually, it would not be the last time that you and Nicole played opposite each other on the Peters
That's
stage.
right.
And we had that first Minties at Snug Harbor, June the 5th, 2011. Do you have any, that's what I'm asking people, because even I didn't think that it would go past that night and think that it would become, what it has. Did you have any memories or thoughts, first thoughts going into that first ceremony, and what memories stand out for you?
Yeah, my thoughts going in is that I just thought it was going to be a fun time. I didn't know that it was going to even go past that, like you said. I thought we were just going to go in there, rehearse for this big showcase, and get to bring our talents to the stage and show them for all these other schools. And when there started to be nominations going out, I was like, wow, this is legit. I was like, there are awards, like there's a little bit of a competition, but it was a fun competition. There was never any animosity there. And a favorite memory, Pinto, I'm going to say something a little controversial. Are you ready?
I don't know if I am.
It's the balloon arch. I know everybody's mentioned it so far. It's iconic. It needs to come back. That balloon arch needs to be there for
one and done. First off, I found the receipt for it a few weeks ago. I said, my God, I paid this much for balloons.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, we had no proscenium. We had no curtain. We needed something. And
we made do.
And we did. And actually, I was looking back at the video last week, and the flats that those Villa girls painted of each of the program covers for the schools was still amazing.
And it was beautiful.
Yeah, and that is what I had planned to continue to do until we, moved to the St. George and was able to get the backdrop. But that first year, you were nominated. And you and Nicole both took home the Supporting Actor and Actress Award for Fiddler on the Roof. Do you have any memories of that moment?
I really was just shocked. I truly didn't think that I was going to get it. And I was just really happy to be a part of the entire situation. But then when I won, I really didn't know what to say up there. I didn't know who to thank. Like I didn't really prepare anything. And so I just wanted to savor the moment and really make it last. And a thing that sticks out to me is that Nicole and I actually, unbeknownst to each other, like matched that night. We were both wearing some sort of blue. So I was like, perfect. I was like, we could take photos afterwards and it could be a whole big thing.
And that was year one, and that set you off on your road. Now, did you know, or rather how because obviously you had been in the Hill show, you knew some of the guys from FAO, you knew the Hill girls. With Peters, you knew some from Villa and Notre Dame. So how friendly were you with students from the other schools at that point? But as the years went on, you became familiar with more and more people.
Yeah, I would say that in the beginning, I wasn't super friendly with everybody, but because it was all so new. We were all still getting to know each other. But I will say that in the time that we spent, whether it was in the St. Peter's shows or the Hill or the Villa shows, we became such a tight-knit family that I still talk to some of those people today. And we have a group chat going every single week. And it's, I would honestly say that some of my best friends were formed in those early days, because the proof is there. We still talk.
And I think, not to go off topic, but that is what I'm most proud of with the Minties. And obviously you had friends from other schools beforehand, but so many friendships, so many relationships formed from the Minties, from that morning, when all the schools come together. And that I always say is my favorite memories and what I'm most proud of, because while yes, the name awards is there, it's really not about that. It's about, like you said, forming the friendships and the relationships.
You created such a warm atmosphere for everybody to really get involved with. And it was just such a nice place to get to know each other and share in the talent that was brewing in those early days.
And talent was a brewing, because now comes our junior year, 2012, and
That's
actually
right.
till the fall of 2011, and you audition for Villa's production of Into the Woods, which we've shown a few times on here. So why don't you tell us about that experience?
Oh, I love Into the Woods. And especially with that cast, it felt like it was like the all stars of community theater. And because we all just fit so well into the roles. And it was a challenge, but it was also just a really fun time. And I just remember like wanting to be at rehearsal constantly. I kept wanting to go back and back and back again. And that was just it was just a really great time to be a part of that show specifically.
And you played one of the princes.
Yep, I played Cinderella's prince and also the Big Bad Wolf.
And the wolf, yes. And you were nominated for that role in the featured category. And now comes the spring, and St. Peter's, as you said, in their dramatic turn, does Les Mis, which an unbelievable production, won a number of Minty Awards, obviously the St. Genesius Award that year, and you played the role of Marius. And why don't you tell us, because really, Into the Woods, Les Mis, it is so heavy on the score. So that so intense for someone that age to be thrust into those musicals with that type of material and that type of talent level required to do it well. What are your memories from Les Mis?
Yeah, like you said, the score is so heavy, but it's such a beautiful piece of music that they use for the show. And so like I mentioned earlier on in my parish players days, Liz Muller was a very big inspiration for me. And then after I had performed for her, she took me under her wing and gave me voice lessons and began to teach me not only contemporary and more like popular musical theater pieces, but also more operatic stuff because she was trained operatically. And so that was a very big skill to have and a very important skill to have for Les Mis, because it sits in that baritone range. And so I kind of pulled from that. Like you said, at this young age, I was still dabbling in it, but I was able to try and capitalize on it.
And now comes the Minty Awards. You're also nominated for Marius in the supporting. So you were one of the first few to be nominated twice. And we now arrive at the St. George Theater. And what are your thoughts from performing on that stage for the first time?
It like hit you like a ton of bricks because it was such a large space. And I remember walking backstage and just seeing the fly system and seeing everything all in place there. And I was just so excited to get to be on that stage and hear the rush of the audience and really just be in the moment of that space. I haven't performed in I would say any place bigger than that. So yeah, it was just a really lovely moment.
And you took home your second Minty that evening for your work in Into the Woods as a featured actor. And like I said, Les Mis won the Best Musical, Outstanding Musical Award that year. So now you're 2 for 2 and you go into your senior year.
Yes.
And Peters performs the Phantom of the Opera, and there's only one person that could play the Phantom. and when I say it was a beautiful, beautiful performance, which you don't need me to tell you that.
Thank you.
It truly was. Were you involved in any other shows that year?
Oh, my goodness. I probably was, but I'm blanking on it right now. For Villa, wasn't that the year they did The Boyfriend?
They did the 42nd Street and The Boyfriend that year.
Yeah, so I was part of The Boyfriend, but I wasn't part of their 42nd Street. So I was able to still kind of dabble in the other schools too.
Or actually, no, I think I'm getting confused. I think The Boyfriend may have been the year of Into the Woods. I think that was their spring year.
Oh, maybe it was
2012, because I know 42nd Street was in the spring, and I'm very positive The Boyfriend was in the spring.
Okay. So
yes,
possibly just Phantom.
That was the Apple Tree was the fall show at Villa that year.
See, context clues. We got there. We got there eventually. Perfect. Yes, I was part of the Apple Tree. I played. I definitely was, because I remember I always either play some sort of animal or some sort of person with a very heavy costume, because I sweat a lot.
Yes,
people know.
As being in a show with you, I can attest to that.
So many
bright
people.
Lights of stage 1.
listen, it's what's kept me so skinny all these years. Really, it's true. But I was part of the apple tree. I played the snake in the first act, and then toward the third act, I played the narrator, which was fun, a fun time.
You can see neither of us reviewed his resume before tonight's interview to freshen up. So tell us about Phantom, though, your senior year show.
When they first announced that it was Phantom, I was extremely nervous because it was like in the woodworks that they were potentially thinking about me for the Phantom. They were choosing that show to kind of highlight that moment. And I didn't want to let anybody down because it's such a huge role. And when walking into a high school performance of Phantom, there are already so many thoughts that kind of go through your head. But if there's one thing that I'm really passionate about, it's challenging myself and really pushing myself. And so when I went through the audition process and got the role, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it well. And so I went back to voice lessons. I even did like dance classes, even though Phantom doesn't really dance, but I was like, I gotta be like top shape and like really get into this. I watched the show 100 times. I went to see it on Broadway. I was like, I am going to know this show backwards and forwards. And yeah, that was kind of my start for the whole thing.
Now, it was a school edition, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Is there a noticeable difference, or what is changed or removed, if you know, from the show?
Not much is changed. It's some of the content and like the language that's been altered, but nothing extremely noticeable via the plot. It's just mostly from the language
or the content from it. So like I said, and again, opposite Nicole, what an extraordinary show. I remember vividly sitting there, and when Masquerade started, you literally had people screaming when it started. And that's how really exciting, and that's how the program at St. Peter's has built up. I remember people saw Les Mis that had no involvement in the show. They went every single night because that's how great it was, and how they wanted to bring other people. And that was the momentum that Peter's built. Thanks to all of your talents, you and your fellow cast members.
Oh, thank you, Pinto.
Years. So now we go.
I was actually thinking about that earlier because a few years ago, a brother of somebody that I had went to school with was thinking about applying to different high schools. And originally, when I was a freshman, Peters was the school for a lot of sports. It was like the sports competitor of Farrell. But when this young gentleman was thinking about schools, they said, I want to go to Peters for the drama program. I was like, what? I was like, that's a thing now? And so, like you said, we built such a momentum by trying to bring so many of the boys involved, whether they were from the football team, the soccer team. Like it wasn't just drama people and theater people. Like we tried to get that entire Peters community to get involved. And I think like it really helped create an atmosphere that people wanted to be a part of. So I felt so humbled and so proud that my school was able to build that for people that wanted the chance to be involved in a theater program that wasn't necessarily, say, like more Catholic high schools or Farrell's program, because Farrell had a great program as well for theater. But now Peters was on the map, which was great.
And thanks in part because you had directors that gave you challenging materials to challenge you, to make you better and
to keep pushing.
Yes, and that worked tremendously. So we get now to the third ceremony. You're a senior. Can you do it? Can you do it? 3 feet, never been done before. Janine won twice. Can somebody win the third time? And we get up to one of the last awards of the night. And obviously the trifecta is complete. You capture the leading actor award. And what were your thoughts on that as your final performance in your high school career?
I remember for the opening number, when I came out with the mask on, which I actually have right here, by the way, just behind the camera.
Please don't put it. We don't need to see.
It's signed by my entire cast, so it looks completely different.
Okay, I thought you were gonna say it was signed by you, and that would have made me worry.
No, not just me. Jeez. And so I remember coming out with the mask and my suit and looking up at the audience, and everybody was screaming, and I started to cry because I knew that it was my last moment in the theater for my high school career, and I felt very proud of what we had done. So I was like, this is a great note to end on. And if I can get the Minty, I said, you know what, I'll take it, great. But if I didn't, I think that moment would still sit with me. The fact that I was just really proud to be there with my team and my cast, and having that full moment be a collection of all the memories that I had brought from being a little freshman and back to the 80s over to Phantom.
If you had to choose one Minty memory over those first 3 years, what would it be?
Yeah, I distinctly remember our choreography rehearsal with Christina on the stage of the St. George Theater. And it was right before we were going to open the house, and we're going through the number, going through the motions. And we had just finished. And she said, you know what, guys, I want you now to look up at that audience, all the empty seats, and just imagine the roar of the crowd. Everyone's there for you, and you guys are going to rock this moment. So just take it all in and really sit in the moment. And I was like, I like got the chills, like got goosebumps. And I was like, this is going to be such an amazing time. And that's something that sticks with me to this day.
And with that said, let's take a little look at that opening number from 2012, the first year we were at the St. George, from the finale of that opening number. And then also a look at Phantom of the Opera clip from the 2013 Minty Awards. And we'll throw in, since we have a few to choose from, one of your speeches as well. So take a look and enjoy.
And the 2013 Minty Award for Outstanding Leading Actor goes to Anthony Massa.
I feel truly blessed to get this. This is unreal. First off, I have to thank God and just for blessing all of the other nominees and every other actor and actress in this room for giving us the love and passion to just get up here and do what we do. It's just amazing. Thank you 100 times. Thank you.
Boy, those really bring back some memories, don't they?
They really do. I was going down memory lane.
So you graduate now. you go to, you get accepted into the Macaulay Honors Program at CSI. And what is your study over there?
Yeah, so I started at the College of Staten Island. I was accepted to the Macaulay Honors Program. And I originally was a pre-med student. And I was like, you know what? I don't need theater. I'm going to be a brilliant doctor. And then that little itch was like, you need to, this is what you love to do. Medicine is not your thing. You'll just be entertaining them in the doctor's office anyway. And so I took up a major of dramatic arts. It was a bachelor's of science in dramatic arts. So I was learning more of the tech side. And I still kept my psychology major because that was something that really interested me, was how individuals, especially actors, are affected mainly through their mental health and through their ability to perform on stage, exactly what it takes to be an actor and to take on that new persona. So that was something that I wanted to pair well with it. And so, yeah, I took a double major in that. And also I took a minor in American Sign Language because why not?
And you continue to stay involved in the theater community. We did a number of shows together over at In the Wings, culminating, I guess, with your role as the Beast.
Yeah.
Beauty and the Beast in 2016. What were one of your favorite, obviously may that be your favorite role, but some of your community theater experiences that you did?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I think
We also went from that, and then we went right into Big Fish with Hemlock over at Stage One.
I loved Big Fish. It was such a cool time because, like, I'm a kid at heart, and so the fact that it's all like imagination and things happening, I was like, this is my show. So I loved Big Fish. I loved Beauty and the Beast because I'm a huge Disney nut. Also, Godspell was a lot of fun. That was a little bit earlier on, but Godspell was a really great time. You were a part of that as well, helping out. Beauty and the Beast and Big Fish were some of the big highlights.
So you graduate now, and you still have the theater bug in you, and so you go to the happiest company on earth.
It all started with a mouse, Pinto.
Yes, it did.
It all started with a mouse.
So why don't you tell us your experience working with Disney?
Yeah, the bug was kind of caught earlier on in my college career because while I was at Macaulay, we started a Macaulay Theater Club because Macaulay wasn't really a theater school. It wasn't really involved with the theater at all. And so what we did was we collected all 8 campuses of the school to kind of find whether they were sound designers or lighting designers or even actors or directors, and really pull them into this community. And we created theater pieces. So I ended up directing and producing about 2 full-scale musicals and a couple of little cabarets and fundraisers here and there. So I was like, I want to direct and I want to produce, but I want to go on a bigger scale. I was like, what's a bigger scale? Disney. Why not? It's the hugest scale ever. And so I applied for the Disney College program. I had just finished college, and my mom was like, why don't you apply? Like, what's the worst that can happen? I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. So I applied. I worked down in Hollywood Studios for about a year and a half. And I then applied for Disney Cruise Line because they had an opening.
While you were at Disney itself, what were you stationed at? Was there one attraction mostly, or it was working where needed?
Yeah, it was an attraction for sure. It was the parking lot tram.
And that's the first face that you see, and if they don't like you, they're not gonna like the parks.
I set the tone, and I said it well, and I told all of the cheesy jokes that I could, and I had a blast. I loved it. And even though it wasn't theater based, I got to really showcase my theater muscles because I was performing constantly.
Oh, absolutely.
And
right,
I was
a cast member. Isn't that what they?
It's part of the rapport. It's really part of like the experience there, and you have to keep the magic going. So I tried to really showcase some of that talent down there. But again, like I said, I like to push myself. I like to keep pushing the envelope. So I said, I want more theater. I want more entertainment based. What can I do? there was an opening with Disney Cruise Line, and they were looking for an entertainment host and also a children's entertainment host. So I applied for both positions, and I got the role of the entertainment host on board the Disney Fantasy. So within, I want to say it was a week, I had to stop working for Disney World, sleep on my friend's couch, and then I had to go straight to the ship. And I worked on there for about a little under 2 years, doing contracts on ship and then spending a little time off the ship. And that was, my gosh, it was one of my favorite experiences of all time, because that really, I was working in their entertainment department. So I was able to perform in shows and host the trivia nights and the dance parties and all these special events. And I was the front facing cast member there, or in that case, a crew member. And that, to me, I got to work hand in hand with a cruise director who, in essence, is the producer / director of the ship. And so that, to me, I was like, I want to do that. I want to be the person in the room making the decisions happen and having my input be heard.
And where did this ship travel to mostly?
Yeah, so we did Western Caribbean and Eastern Caribbean cruises. So we went to Cozumel, Mexico. We went to St. Thomas. We went to Tortola. We went to, occasionally we did some other stops at various islands if we just had the time, which I know was a huge problem to have, just occasionally. And then our private island of Castaway Cay.
What was the longest amount of time span you were on the ship at one time?
We would do week-long cruises. So typically it was more of a 7-day cruise, but occasionally we would do like a 10 or a 14-day cruise if sometimes they would line up that way. So we would do either a 7 to 7 or a 10 to 3 and work our way through that.
Did you have to adjust to that life of being on sea? Was that?
Oh yeah, it's a huge adjustment because you are working and living with the people that you're working with, and so it was a close-knit community, and occasionally you get to know every side of people, but it was a really great time because I'm huge on customer relations and guest services, and so I loved making the little bit of magic for people and making people have a great time. And you know me, I was such a ham, and I was a cheese ball through and through. Cheese ball through and through. So I really tried to make it last.
So now you, as you said, you were the entertainment host for a series of events. What type of shows did you perform in?
Yeah, so we would do formal night dance parties. So I would get to dress up in a suit. And then we would also do a pirate day at sea. And so I became a pirate for one day of the week. And we did a huge deck show on the main deck for 2,000-3,000 people for that night. And I got to perform on stage.
How many people that are on the ship?
Yeah, so we would have at the most 4,000 or 5,000, but like for that specific show, it was only, yeah, for that show specifically, there were about 2,000 on the deck. And
you said, I've been at St. George. This is nothing. Give me this.
That was my biggest like in-person stage, like, you know, like theater stage. This was the deck of a ship, so very different criteria here. But yeah, I got to introduce Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and like bring them on the stage, and it was just hanging out with all these amazing characters. It was a really great time.
As a Disney person myself, I would love that job.
Yeah.
Wow. So you come home from the cruise ship, and now you embark on a new journey that you're currently in.
Yes.
Right now, pursuing a master's degree at Columbia University. So why don't you tell us about what you are studying now? Yeah,
I had just left the cruise ships and was due back just before the pandemic hit. And I was beginning to think about graduate school while I was on the ship. And I said, maybe I'll give it a try. But, you know, I really like where I'm at right now, so I may want to stick this out. But then the pandemic kind of threw me into it. So I said, you know what? jump off the cliff. We'll see if we can fly and go for it, because I love to push myself, Pinto. And yeah, so I applied for multiple programs. I got into a few of them and chose to go to Columbia University in their School of the Arts. I'm studying for a Master's of Fine Arts in theater management and producing. It's a mouthful. So yes, theater management and producing. I'm studying under some really amazing professors. And it's a 3-year program. So I am just weeks shy of finishing my first year.
Well, congratulations on that. And have you had any in-person classes, or has it been all remote your entire experience so far?
It's been mostly remote. I've done one hybrid class where I've gone in a few times, but when cases were rising, I decided to stay home just for safety precautions.
And obviously, hopefully, you'll get some great internship experience with this over the next 2 years and have many more successes.
Yeah, currently working for Broadway and Beyond Theatricals, which is a great time. Just the start of the internships.
And
hopefully there'll be more.
What is your involvement there with this internship?
Yeah, so I work under 2 different departments. So I'm working mostly with their booking department as well as their creative producing department. So I'm working kind of 2 separate jobs, and depending on where the need arises, they kind of toss me back and forth, and I get to do multiple different things there. But it is really great because I get to have a culmination of all the things that I'm learning hands-on in class and get to apply them specifically for the internship, and which has been great.
And it's brings to mind all the different avenues that careers in the arts can lead you to. And
100%.
Obviously in high school, there's no, production manager, there's no ticket agent, there's no casting, everyone's just on the stage or you're backstage. But to hear from so many of the alumni that I've interviewed, that being on the stage gave them the bug, but it was the bug to do different types of work in the theater, goes to show our students that you love theater there and you don't think you could make it. Not saying you can't, but not saying someone doesn't think they can make it on the stage. There's so many avenues of opportunity.
Yeah, community theater is just the touch point. It's just the start. It really can launch people into wanting a career in any sort of theater atmosphere.
Broadway, off-Broadway, regional,
anything,
any level.
On a cruise ship, seriously, like it could be anything.
So, which leads me now to my last few questions for you. First question, if you could leave any advice to some of our high school students that are currently watching.
Ooh, the hard-hitting questions, Pinto. I love it. I would say to just take your time and invest in experiences and opportunities that allow you to capitalize on the things that make you special. It may sound cheesy to say, but everyone really has their talent and their charisma and things that make them unique. And so really finding those opportunities that can really capitalize on that would be really key for your success. And I think secondly, it's, of course, be direct in your goals, but really create an adaptive plan for those goals. That if for some reason life were to throw you off and you sort of get derailed, it's not the end of the world, and you're able to kind of manage your expectations to really get yourself back on track or to follow that second path through and through. It really is creating that adaptive plan rather than solely focusing on one thing and getting disappointed if it doesn't necessarily happen.
And I think the last year, if it's taught us anything, it's to have that adaptive plan.
Of course.
Looking back, is there anything that you wish you had known at that time when you were in high school that you know now?
Oh, that I wish I knew. I would just say like information. Just like get yourself like on the Broadway briefing, the Playbill posts, like sign up for email blasts, like go see shows, like whatever you can do and see and gather. And it doesn't necessarily have to be off Broadway or Broadway shows that you're going to see, because specifically not everybody has the ability or the access to get to that. And so I think that just gathering any sort of information that you can and like having it in your wheelhouse is going to help you in the long run. So do that, Anthony, or young person.
10 years of the Minties. Looking back, you've been a part of it really, obviously, since the beginning. You've made great friends, great relationships. What has it meant to you over the first 10 years?
It's meant everything. Like, I know it's, like I said, there's real value in community theater. It's just a touch point and the start of something. And so I found so much value in that, in being able to go on a stage and see fellow people that are from Staten Island or from the community, and just being able to cherish those moments and really sit in that is, I think it truly is priceless. So that's what I would take from that.
And we are very honored and proud to have had some of those priceless memories with you over the last 10 years.
And thanks to you for doing all of that, because you started it all.
And it is the energy of the students that keep it going. I will say that time and time again, because that's what I really do believe. Because if they were only in it for the awards, it would have ended after that first year. But
exactly.
You guys set that tone at that very first ceremony as to what it's about. So I thank you and your friends for that. And I thank everybody for watching a great interview. And Anthony, I thank you for your time tonight. I thank everybody for watching. We'll be back next week with an all new episode, an all new guest. Who might it be? You'll find out in a few days. But until then, as always, meet me at the Minties. Good night, everybody.